glorify you, Jesus. Magnify you, Lord. You're worthy of the glory, Lord.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Last week, we concluded with the fact that you should keep your sword ready for you and your personal reflection, but not be so quick to use it for your interaction with others, and especially with those close to you. And we'll dig deeper into the sword today, because one of the things that I told you last week was that I'm not telling you that it's not meant for you to have a sword or to never use your sword. The key is to not depend on your sword for every interaction. And the whole point about that is something which is why I wanted to start out in Matthew 26 that we did. So if you'll turn with me to Matthew 26, and we'll look again at verse 48 through 54. Matthew 26, verse 48 through 54, where he says this. It says, "Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast." There's something very important about verse 48 that I want you to get a hold of before we go any farther. How are you going to be after somebody that you don't know what they look like? That's what I want you to understand. They're after Jesus, but most of them don't even know what he looks like. They don't even know so much so, now watch this, that they've got to get somebody inside of his camp to identify him for them. I want you to think about that. Now we going out and we finna ride out and we finna go get the one that's hindering our progress. Oh, by the way, what does he look like? What does he really look like? Because they obviously didn't know. They didn't know who the Messiah looked like, but yet they wanted him dead. Now I'm laying this out for you because I want you to understand something. When folk don't like you and they really ain't got a reason, they're after the Christ in you that they can't identify. They're after the Christ in you that they can't identify. They don't know why they don't like you. They really have no right to not like you, but they don't like you. They have no justification for why they dislike you. They just dislike you. and I want to point that out because of where we're going to go later in the message. So watch verse 49. It says, "And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Jesus, Peter, stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Then said Jesus unto him, Put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? And that number of angels would equal out to somewhere between 120 to 130,000 angels. So I think that'd be enough to clean up house if he really was supposed to do that. But watch verse 54. It says, But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be? See, one of the things that I want you to understand about putting down your defense mechanism is because there are things that God has designed to get to you so that the Christ that's in you can be shown. He's designed them to get to you so that the Christ that's in you can be shown. Now here's the issue. Usually when those things get to you, Christ ain't the first thing that you're ready to show. And that's why we're covering this about the sword. What he's trying to get you to understand is he's saying, before you pop off, before you roll your neck, before you pop your fingers, before you let those words come out, before you let the jerk happen, think about this. God allowed it to get to you. God allowed it to get to you. Because see, that's what we have misinterpretation about, is that we start to think that nothing is going to ever happen to us. You walk in that protected state for so long that you start to think that nothing's going to happen to you. And he's saying, no, I don't want you to think that weapons won't get formed against you. All I want you to understand is the weapons won't prosper.
Right, amen.
So the weapons are going to get formed. I'm going to allow them to get to you. Watch this, because I got to make sure you keep your sword sharp. and see, the key about a sword is the sword doesn't get sharpened by use. It's sharpened before use. It's sharpened by not being in use. That's the whole point. Because when I start really showing you the fullness about this sword, it's going to change some things about the way you view what's coming to you. And one of the scriptures that I wanted you to read last week before today was 1 Peter 3, verses 1 and 2. So if you'll go there with me, 1 Peter 3, verse 1 and 2, I want you to see something. Actually, I may end up reading down through verse 4 in that as well, but I want you to see something major about this. Because in 1 Peter chapter 3, in verse 1 and 2, he says, Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. Now understand this. The reason I wanted you to see that is because it says, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word